Art, thank you everybody for your patience while I help this gentleman join online. I will not be having my camera on. I am homesick and nobody needs to see that, so I will be off camera for the whole time, but I am here. We are recording just as a reminder. And I was just going to, I know Representative Seekins Crow is driving until she gets to a safe place. She's going to keep her camera off. I just wanted to go over the agenda really quick and I will share that. Let me just see, there was a, okay, and Mitch has to drop off around 2:45. Okay, thank you. I'm going to share my screen right now so everybody can see the agenda at the same time. Okay, everybody should be able to see the agenda I have up. Sorry, I'm sure I'm getting more phone calls from folks wanting to join or something. So just an update on the agenda. We do not have other states here today. Jeff Hindoin tried to his very best to get a couple states to present to us today, and they just couldn't make it work. So they will be presenting. I know I have confirmation from South Dakota presenting for us at the April meeting, and we're likely going to get Colorado and also Wyoming at the April meeting. But today we don't have any other states presenting, so we're gonna just really jump into the surveys, and I think that'll last. We have a lot to talk about there, so I think that'll take up a lot of our time. Scrolling down, does anybody have any changes to the agenda or anything they'd like to add? If so, just go ahead and unmute yourself or raise your hand. Okay. All right, so we have introduction. I'm going over the agenda right now. We're going to approve the January meeting notes in a second. We will go over the survey subcommittee report and then finalize the surveys, and we'll hear from Representative Sprunger and the others on the PR subcommittee report. I'll talk about what FWP can do and how we can help make sure that you get these surveys out to the right people. And then we'll collect some public feedback for your task force, and then we'll talk about the field trip and then close for the day. So I guess I'd like somebody, since Representative Seekins Crow is in the car, I'd like somebody to make a motion to approve the January subcommittee notes.
This is Mandy. I will move to approve the January notes as written.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Liz seconds. Any discussion? Okay, I'll ask, since it's hard to take a vote on Zoom, I'll just ask if anybody is opposed to approving the minutes or the notes. Okay, and seeing none, the notes have been approved. Again, we are skipping the out-of-state presentations. And Seth, would you like to take the lead on talking about the survey and what we provided back to you? I guess before maybe hand it over to you, I will say that we did give it to our human dimensions expert, our survey guy here at FWP. And he just wanted us to relay that because it's not set up as a scientific survey, there probably will be some bias in that. And that doesn't mean it's not usable, it's not important, the data is good. It's just not set up as a scientific survey, and there will be some bias because we are really targeting the people we want to hear from. So I just wanted to say that. Anything else, Renee, that you wanted to add from Mike?
I would just add that we really took a look at this and didn't change the content of the questions. We just tried to make the formatting easier for the public to fill out, including Likert scales to add some nuance to the questions, that sort of thing. So just wanted to give you guys a sense for how we approached editing the survey.
Thanks, Renee. Yeah, we really, this is your survey. We just wanted to add some, of that expertise in. But it's all your survey to take control of and decide what you want included in there. So Seth, if you wanted to take the lead on this, and I don't know what survey you want to start with, and I'm happy to share my screen, or you can share your screen. What would you?
Sure. Let me see. Got multiple screens, so it always depends on what's going to come up. Yeah, go ahead and share yours, and then I
Okay,
can
sure.
sort of
Which
walk
one would you
through.
like me to start with?
Let's do the club first. That should be quicker.
Okay, just give me 1 second here. Okay, do you see the shooting club survey?
We do now.
Okay, great.
So I don't know if everyone's had a chance to read through this yet. Might just take a second to kind of read through the header. I did make some adjustments to um, I made some adjustments to try and phrase this a little bit more around a survey as a means to potential funding. So versus, we're doing a government study and we want your input, please tell us everything we want to know. I tried get it to get the point across that your future funding or the ability to be funded is tied to survey responses. I thought that might drive responses a little bit better, and then also try and explain kind of what we're trying to do. So if anybody had any feedback on if we want to change that, condense it slightly, take anything out, add anything to it, would be open to that.
Any comments on that for Seth?
And I guess just a question maybe for you, Deb, or maybe Sam. I had Sam listed as the point of contact. Is that who we would want to be running lead on any sort of clarification or answering any specific questions about somebody that might want to call in and figure out what they didn't really know an answer to something, or that was a question that I had.
I'm happy to jump in on that one, Deb. So we had proposed putting Sam's name there because he does have a relationship with many of these clubs. But if you guys wanted to put somebody from the task force, you're more than welcome to do that. We had offered, Sam to be the main contact if they had questions.
Okay.
I think Sam would be good.
Yeah, I think I'd be good with that. I don't foresee a lot of questions, and I think it would be survey related, which would be more generic. And I think I'm comfortable with him, fielding any of those.
Well, and if Sam needs to, if it gets to be more complicated than that, he can give them one of our names. That's fine.
Yeah, and I'm also happy to be a sort of either backup or downstream if there's a question that, he doesn't feel like we clarified well enough as a committee. I'd be happy as the sort of subtask member to answer those questions too.
Yeah, I nominate Seth.
All right. I guess we can just go down the list and see if everyone's good with the language and then kind of approve them on a question by question basis. So question one, in your opinion, what single investment would most improve shooting facilities in Montana for the long-term benefit of the public? I think that was some language that FWP changed to make it a little clearer. Everybody good with that language? And I guess I'll just do a non-negative. So if anyone has an issue, I guess jump in. Otherwise, I'll just move on to the next one. Name of the shooting range you represent. I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. Location, we played around with that a little bit. I think nearest city, county is probably a good differentiator. So unless anyone can think of a good reason for that, I think that works for me.
Hey Seth, this is Rich Roth.
Yeah.
Hey, really quick in there, is there any benefit of knowing? I mean, maybe at some point in there, and maybe it doesn't matter. I thought that the knowing the region might be just beneficial for to know, but I mean, I guess we can determine that from whatever their nearest city is. I suppose we can do it that way too.
Change it to the backside. Yeah, and I'd have put that in there originally, but there's probably a lot of or some people that shoot that might not hunt. So
Right,
maybe there's not
right.
crossover if you're an action pistol shooter, maybe you're not a hunter. I think if
Okay.
you just put city county, we should be able to on the backside populate that with
Yep.
region.
Okay.
Sorry, I got the wrong thing up there. I'm just trying to send Senator Fuller a another invite.
All good.
Can you see the
Yep.
survey now? Okay.
Um, yep. Next question, number 4, number of shooter days. I put a clarification in there that a shooter day equals one person for one day, or on the range for one day. So that should just give us an idea of what that means. They changed the formatting around a little bit to make it flow a little better. But generally, 1,000 or less, which would be a pretty small range, up to the numbers that I was seeing, I think on some of the club self-reported, they were in that like 15 or 20,000 range. So if it's above 10,000, I think we could consider that to be a large range. So I was trying to get an idea of overall numbers without having too many options. All good there. Number 5, estimated percentage of shooter days associated with organized competitions or events. I wanted this in there just to try and get a handle on whether these were clubs that were running a lot of. We can cross-reference the number of shooter days in general with competition, and then changing this to percentages allowed for a rough usage ratio of competition based to non-competition based. So I think this will help break out clubs they're doing organized events versus more of just site and day type. All good on that one. All right. Number 6, how your shooting range is owned and operated. Um, Once again, try and get at if these are state, private partnership, lease land, etc. I think there's enough granularity in there. We went with privately owned and privately operated. So that would be a ranch range, private property range. If it's privately owned and operated by a club or nonprofit, if it's publicly owned and publicly operated, which would be the FWP ranges, and if it's publicly owned and operated by a nonprofit or club, which would be lease land with an agreement. And other, if we miss something, then they can pencil that in. I'll go with 6. All right. Number 7, how access is structured. This was also getting at that, how it's being used. Is it open to the public? Is it public, private, etc.? And added another tab as well. Good on 7. All right. 8, does your range currently have a waiting list for membership? This is kind of a specific question. I know some of the following questions do kind of apply to this as well, but I think it just gives us an easy yes, no for there's not enough people. It should be pretty easy to click on. So I felt like it was worth a standalone question. All right, good on 8. Number 9. So this was changed slightly from my wording on a scale. Deb, I don't know if you had any feedback from them on the frequently, not frequently wordage versus, and I know that followed through on a couple of the other sort of scaled questions. Is that based on just feedback from what they get on surveys generally being easier for people to select, or was there a methodology behind that?
Yeah, I'll let Renee's the one that talked to
Okay.
Mike, so I'll let her answer that.
Yeah, we typically use it's called a Likert scale, and
Mhm.
it's oftentimes easier for people to respond to a scale. less frequently, more frequently. So it's just, you'll often see this type of question in our surveys, and that comes from Human Dimensions methodology. So it's asking the same thing, just changing the way that people respond to it.
Okay. Sounds good. Everyone good with 9? All right, 10. Back to the scale question, slight change, but essentially what we're getting at is if it's growing, stationary, or decreasing. So getting an idea of trends. All right, good with 10. We had done some language change around 11 to try and encompass everything that I think we needed. So we did pistol bays, which would be shorter action style shotgun trap. We broke out trap and skeet just because there are some clubs, well, several that I'm aware of that just shoot trap. And so they're kind of a specific use case, which may or may not really apply in the funding mechanism for what we're looking to expand. So if someone comes in and they're just a trap club, then that kind of allows us to sort them into a certain category easier. There's some clubs that kind of do all of the above. So I wanted to break it out a little bit more to get a better idea of how many clubs are offering more than one or two things, and then if they're just sort of a generic club or if they have more specific uses. So I think we got all of the requests into that list. And then there's always an other tab if there's something that somebody has that they wanted to add, hey, we do this and this is available. And then the same thing on the on number 12, same list, just what would you like to add? So this is getting at if they have a growth desire, then it would fill in there. We went to the amenities. I think we added a few to that. Fire, lead mitigation, cleaning. This was more along the improvement side. I think we got most everything that I could think of to see what clubs might be looking for. We'll see if anything kind of stands out there. Everybody good with 13? 14 was kind of more of the facilities or buildings. I think we got pretty much everything listed on that to try and give someone some check boxes on what they might be interested in. There's nothing on 14. We'll go on to 15. This was more of an open-ended, if someone wants to fill it in. 3 maintenance or development projects you'd like to complete. We probably will get some of that information from the top. I was thinking about this question. I don't know if we want to require them to answer all questions, or if we want to allow certain questions like this one to not be answered and them still able to submit. If they want to put NA or you just leave it blank. I think that was a question I had for the folks that would be administering. I think sometimes people get to open-ended stuff and they're less likely to click through and select something. So I'm open to the methodology if we wanted to put a yes, no box. If there's yes, then they can fill something out. Or if we wanted to make it just optional where they can just blow by it and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we could do whatever you guys would like on this one.
I know I personally get irritated if I don't want to fill something out, if I don't have the option to not fill something out. But I know that we are still at the point where we need more information, but maybe just the NA could work.
Yeah, and if we were going to make it optional, we could, if someone's going to go through the effort of filling it out, they obviously care and they're making an effort. We could just maybe put something at the top that, answer as many questions as as you can. Please answer as many of the following questions as possible.
Or we could say, answer as many questions that you feel are applicable to your location or something like that.
Yeah, so that might be a better way of doing this, is just come up with some sort of header language, or right before question 1, an intro of, please answer as many questions as possible, or please answer all questions that would be applicable, or maybe that's the easiest way of doing it.
And on that, also include the language, we really appreciate your responses as we try to help you, or just so that they understand the importance of it, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
Seth,
does anybody
would you wanna-
have a
Seth,
stab
I have a
at?
question for you. Since you have the up-to-date version where you added that at the top, some language at the top, do you want to take a stab at adding that language at the top of fill out as much as you can or as completely as you can, or would you like us to do that for you?
I think we could probably do something. I'll take a stab at it. I think it can be something as simple as, please answer all questions that are applicable to help us and, best serve the use case or something like that. I'll take a stab at the language and send it out. And then I think I'll just do that as a header above question 1. So it's, they know as they're going into the questions, they might not read the headers. And so it'll just give them you can skip questions kind of option.
Sure. Okay. And then Senator Curdy, you have a question?
Yeah,
Comment?
I think, this is a great effort to, we should be able to try to encourage people to fill this out. And I think if maybe kind of a wording at the top saying, in an effort to get a good idea or appreciation or whatever about shooting ranges in Montana. I mean, something that we can do to really encourage people to fill this out and not be intimidated if they choose not to fill out 1 or 2 of the questions.
Yeah. I think my goal was not to have someone get to questions and they kind of get frustrated and then they just don't submit it.
Yeah.
So if they gloss over and they only do half of them, that's still information that I think we can find usable. And I'll probably phrase that language at the top, and I can kind of work on that here before the end of the meeting too, that, to best come up with an allocation of funds, something tied to funding that the more you can answer, the better we'll be. So that sounds good. 16, scale of 1, very low, to 5, very high. What level of impact have the following factors had on your range's ability to continue operating or grow? I think that's great. I like that it's sort of a scale versus a yes, no. I think that helps us get a feel for if it's a 2 or a 5. So that's helpful. And I don't know, was there anything else that people had on the other side? If we wanted to keep a fill in the blank, I'm guessing that has to do with the style of a 1 to 5 flow. If you fill it in, you're not then assigning a scale.
It will actually look a little bit different than this in the SurveyMonkey.
You'll have a dots under it or something like,
Yeah, yep.
pick the one.
It'll have a scale for each one on this one. We just didn't add it to the Word document.
Okay.
Is there a way, Seth, or FWP, that we could just add a other item not listed? In case somebody's like, actually, our biggest problem is.
Yeah, we could do that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like having an other in there. There might be something we've missed.
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay.
Just so I'm clear on that, number 16, I think what Renee said cleared me up, but I want to make sure. So this appears as it appears right now, you're going to check a box and not put a number in. But you're going to change that?
Yeah, I think you would have your five dots below, and you would just pick the from left very low to 2, 3, 4, 5 on the right very high, and you just select the
Correct.
dot that best represents it.
Okay.
Correct.
Richard.
Hey, so really quick, and maybe it's on there too, and I don't missed it. But if there was just even a spot to not have other in as an option till the end, and leave a space where someone could type in whatever they really wanted as a last point, I mean, whatever thoughts they might have, I mean, it could be completely random, but at least it would give people to an opportunity. We wouldn't miss something that way. And it could be then just one question, so to speak. I don't know if that's a good idea or not.
Yeah, we did that on 21. I just had a blank
Oh,
for.
I'm sorry, I missed it then.
No, you're good.
Okay.
If there's anything you'd like to add, so if someone kind of gets through and
Yeah.
they're like, well, actually, it'll be a catch-all. And so, yeah, so we've got that.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. 16. All right, everyone good with 16 then? I think that's great. All right, 17. Has your facility applied for any public funding or grants in the past? Yes, successfully, yes, unsuccessfully, or no. I think that'll help us give us a quick, overview of people are applying for something they're not getting, or everyone applied for it and they got it, or no, they just never applied. I think that'll be helpful. 18 will sort of fill in with some of the ones up above. Does your range host organize events or competitions? If the answer is no, then they would probably be in the under 10%. But I think that's a good sorting mechanism if we wanted to look at this quickly. If yes, what level? I think it's important to know if people are doing, turkey shoots, or if they're doing national level, draw type competitions where they're bringing people from, Florida or coming up here for a match. So
Also, Seth, if I may, I'll add, when we put this into SurveyMonkey, if the answer is no, they won't even see this.
they won't see.
up
Okay,
here.
it's a
They'll
follow-on
jump
question.
ahead. Yep.
Okay, perfect. This one we kind of went around with a little bit. Does your range experience increase use due to public land shooting access or closures in your area? We could potentially word this differently, but I guess I'll leave it up to the committee if it's clear to everyone of what this is asking. I think most clubs would probably get it. So I'm open to suggestions, or if everyone thinks that's good, then we can roll.
I'm good with it. If the club would know and has experienced that, then they could answer it.
Seth, would it make sense instead of saying increased use, maybe say increased pressure?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. That increased use language kind of was bothering me too.
Because pressure would be like maybe they get more calls saying, hey, we want to join, but there's a waiting list, so it's not
Yeah,
increased use, but it's increased pressure.
I would be good with changing that. So increased pressure due to rather than change use to pressure. I think that would be good.
Change the
Increased
wrong word.
pressure.
Sorry, guys.
And maybe the question should be rephrased to, has your range experienced increased pressure? I don't know if we're looking for, I was just kind of thinking that if the ranges are in existence because there isn't public land accessible, so I would be open to that change too. If we're looking for a trend line, or if we're looking for sort of a current status of ranges. Either way, I think we probably would still get to the same. So if everyone's good with that, with the change to pressure, all right, we'll move on. 20 scale from 1 to 5. How frequently do shooters report traveling distances 50 miles plus to access your facility? And I think we had this originally as I think I originally had this set up, or maybe that's on the individual side of how far people drive. So
Yeah, that is on
So-
the individual
Yeah, that
side.
was individual. So yeah, I think this works. Basically, it's just getting an idea if it's under 50 miles, it's kind of more local area. If it's longer, then it's showing that there's a larger draw. So I think that's good. And then the same thing using the scale. Yeah, John. I think you're,
Should this question ask, for instance, Senator Curdy really knows, for instance, the Deep Creek Range, every weekend from spring through summer or through fall, they get a lot of people frequently travel more than 50 miles because they're holding some kind of competition.
Yeah.
Should this question ask, report traveling long distances to access your facility except for competitions?
It's like general use versus competition use.
Competition.
Yeah,
I think we could probably, I would guess, we could cross-reference the clubs that do this with the competition percentage. We probably could get a correlation number there. Because I did think about that, and then you start kind of getting into the weeds of if it's frequently, I would say Deep Creek, if they're only hosting events. So if it's like a heat map style, or if they have if those questions show a correlation percentage to where if the yes very frequency on the number 20 are the same people that are saying we're 70% competitions. I think we could look at those numbers and draw that inference. That's kind of what I arrived at.
okay, that's fine.
I think we'll also get more specific information from the shooter side of that too on we'll be able to pull, the average number of how far people are driving from that too. All right, so that's 20. And then and then the last 21. Is there anything else you'd like to add? So just to catch all. I think that's what I had. I think it's definitely a longer survey, but I think most of your club representative types are going to be willing to maybe do a little bit more in terms of answering questions for potential funding. So anything else to add on the club survey, with the exception of the addition of language at the top, sort of stating that questions could be optional?
I just want to say thank you, Seth, and to your committee. You guys have done a really good job. Oh, and by the way, I'm home now. My foot's up. I'm participating, of course, but with a pillow behind me and my foot up on my bed. But that's how it goes when you have surgery, right?
That's right. All right. I don't know if we need a motion. If everyone wants to accept this, if I can fix that language and we can send it out. I don't know that we necessarily need a motion to move forward, but I would say that with the addition of the my paragraph or sentence in front of question 1, that is everyone good with the current language?
I'm good with it.
Okey-doke. Well, I guess we can move on.
If I may, Seth, so
Sure.
what we'll do is Renee has planning staff that will be entering this into SurveyMonkey after we get that from you, Seth.
Okay.
And I invited all of you to look at that map that Renee's team put together and to identify if there's any shooting facilities that are not on there. And I did receive a few from Senator Fuller earlier, and I forwarded those to Sam so he could add those to the list, because that's the list that the survey is going to be going out to. So
Okay.
just please, all of you, triple check that and make sure that we're not missing any, and we'll be using that list to send out the survey.
I missed that map. Where was it emailed recently?
It was in an email, Andy. I could send that to you again if you need me to.
I was traveling and I'm thing. I don't know, see them all. I'll go back. I'll find it. It's easy to search.
Okay, well, I can
Thank
send
you.
it as well too, but I know that Senator Fuller found a few that were missing, so if you guys could just double check your area, that would be great for us.
Okay.
Senator Curdy, you have your hand up?
Yes, Deb. The Hellgate civilian shooters that have the the shooting range just west of my house, have their regular meeting this coming Saturday, and I plan on attending. So I just want to let them know this is coming, but are you going to send out a letter to all shooting clubs and tell them that a Syria is coming, or is this going to just show up on the doorstep cold?
It will be an email that accompanies the link to fill out the survey.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. We also will have, a press release going out from FWP on this, and we'll be posting it on the Shooting Task Force web page that we host for you guys as well. And also, I talked to our ComEd division administrator, and he will be sharing the individual side survey on our Facebook page and the regional Facebook pages as well. So, and we'll probably do that a couple times during the time that survey is out for the individual shooters.
Sounds good. So I was playing with language here, and I can share this if you want, but what I've got is survey questions are optional, but respondents are encouraged to answer as many as applicable. Providing more information will help the task force make better informed decisions on funding allocation. And I can share that to the chat if people want to see it too, but does that sound like it would accomplish our goal?
Seeing no response, I'm assuming. Oh,
I'm gonna
Senator
go
Fuller,
with
go ahead.
yes. I'll throw
Senator
these
Fuller?
in.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. My only question was, yes, that does meet our goals here. Refresh my memory as to how the individual shooters are going to get this questionnaire.
So this one will be the club survey, which sounds like we're going to go off the list of the FWP list that was sent around or is being sent around on all of the state listed shooting ranges
Okay.
around the state. And then I would also guess that if we have, like, there's a lot of, and I don't know, this is something maybe for the committee to consider, is that there are shooting areas that aren't that aren't official. So you got gravel pits and roadsides and whatever, where there's no governing body behind it. I don't know if that's something that we can address on the individual shooting side. There are some questions about I shoot it in sort of a non-sanctioned shooting area, but it would go to all of the shooting facilities or ranges that essentially have a governing body or a person in charge or caretaker or what have you, based on the list that FWP has.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Okay, I will share the individual survey. Let me just give me a second to pull this up. All right, you should see the individual survey.
Right, got it.
Okay.
All right, same kind of thing on this, especially for individuals since most people don't enjoy filling out surveys. I think the angle once again is if you can inform people that filling the survey out is helpful in receiving potential funding or guiding funding or increasing their ability to access shooting facilities, ranges, etc., I think people are much more likely to engage. So I wanted that language to be kind of front and center. And also, I think I'll probably add similar language to the top of this that, respondents are encouraged to answer as many questions as possible. The information provided will help the task force make better informed decisions on funding or something to that effect to, if people want to fill out 10 questions, that's fine. It's better than nothing. So I'll add similar language to the top of this. Section 1 is basically starting out how much do you shoot. Scale 1 to 5, frequently, not very frequently. I don't know. I know there's a methodology between trying to follow the scale. I don't know if this is going to give us as good of information as it would if we're getting an idea of kind of individual shooter days. I didn't want to ask them the shooter day question, but I think it would be kind of helpful to know if people shoot, I go out 3 times a year and I sight in my rifle, I shoot monthly, I shoot weekly, I'm out there all the time shooting. I would like to have more information. That's just from my side, but I'm open to what other people might think.
Anybody want to respond to Seth's question about using the Likert scale or the more detailed, the weekly, monthly, a few times a year, or rarely?
I guess I think it would be helpful to have a little bit more specifics, just because, like, my friend might say he shoots infrequently because he only shoots once a week. And to me, I would mark that very frequently, or,
Right. Okay. Well, I think with that, we should change it to if weekly, monthly, a few times per year. I think that would be helpful.
Seth, I agree with you on that one.
Any other
I concur.
responses? Okay.
Okay. Question 2, personally is taken out, but I think this goes back to kind of the same idea, getting at similar to the list on the club side of what types of shooting people engage in, rifle, pistol, handgun, general. I think we did the rifle shooting general was more of kind of sight in. We had some feedback around maybe changing something around like hunting related practice. I couldn't really think of a good way of getting at, like, I go out and I shoot, a half a box of ammo to get ready for hunting season. I think most people would kind of consider that to be like hunting related practice. You could also consider, I guess, going and shooting matches, hunting related practice, but I think there's enough other boxes that we could kind of get at what people are wanting to or trying to say. And I think what I was really trying to get at is if people are more on the hunting side, if it's not related, if there's a competition element to what they're doing, if it's just youth or family shooting, just kind of general shooting, or other.
Seth,
I
I
think-
think it makes sense because my husband will say, "Hey, I'm going to go right before hunting season. I'm going to go sight in my rifle." And he would check that box.
Okay. I think that should give us enough. I didn't want there to be a 1,000 check boxes, but I think if people kind of look down that and check those that apply, they can kind of do what they want, and that should give us some blips. All right, everyone good with 2? All right, number 3. This was also broken out by sections. I think that was helpful to me as kind of a framing exercise. Kind of what type of shooter are you? Where do you shoot? What kind of experiences? I think it helped kind of set the tone for how people answered questions. We could take those out, and SurveyMonkey may be slightly different on how they structured that too, but number 3 on a scale of 1 to 5, how frequently do you use the following types of shooting range? Public, established shooting range, private established shooting range operated by a nonprofit, private established shooting range operated by a for-profit commercial enterprise, private land with no established, public land with no established. So this kind of mirrors, I think this is a good improvement. It kind of mirrors the range side to where if they're using ranges, we can kind of get at who's using what and see what her crossover is. So I like that.
And again, I'll add that the 1 through 5 will be for each of these.
Each one.
Yeah.
Yep.
We just didn't
Okay.
do it for the Word document.
Yeah, I think that's helpful to know, if it's a 2 or if it's a 5. Yeah, I use it, but how often? I think that's a good change. Number 4, if you use what type you use most often, combine that with 3. I think that's a good move too. It just makes it simpler. Number 5, how far do you typically travel one way to shoot? Emphasis on the typical. I think that's good. This was kind of getting at the, generally I'm going this far. Yeah, sometimes you go a long ways for a competition, to John's point. But I think that's good. Anything on 5? All right, 6, if you shoot on public land, what challenges do you experience? Maybe we should do the same thing and capitalize in bold in public, just so people catch that. I think they probably will, but it never hurts to sort of get after what we're looking for. Safety, fire, and this was kind of getting at if people are shooting at a gravel pit or in a neighborhood or whatever, what kind of issues are they seeing?
Renee had a comment here. Renee, I don't want to speak for you if you want to bring this up.
Sure, I know there was some talk on the task force about trying to shorten. And so I tried to, as we were going through these, tried to flag any. And just given this is specific to just public land, this could be one that you might consider taking out because some of these challenges are covered under question 8.
Okay.
Would you like me to jump to question 8 just to show it?
Yeah, go ahead. I think we could probably.
Seth, I'll totally leave this one up to you.
Yeah, I was thinking we might be able to sort of combine these like we did. If we don't, I guess I was thinking about the people that kind of go out and shoot in the hills as a demographic. And so if those kinds of people that, what number of people don't belong to a shooting range, they just go shoot. If you shoot on public land, what challenges do you experience? Was more aimed at finding out, we'll see how many responses we get and then seeing these are going to be the people that, aren't necessarily shooting at ranges. And maybe we change this to if you shoot primarily on public land or, something along those lines where we're getting at, these are the shoot in the hills with woods people. What kind of issues do you see that we could mitigate from a funding standpoint?
And I do think it's important, Seth, I see what you're getting at, because that was one of the issues that was brought to me by one of our colleagues around the Bozeman area. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it did have to do with shooting on public lands and access, and I probably need to talk to him again but that would be very much targeted to answering the kind of questions that he could probably do with what they do. And it also was in preparation for hunting season.
Yeah.
Would it make sense if we had a precursor question that said, if you shoot, or do you shoot
You
on
primarily shoot on this, and then it has a
public
drop down.
lands, and then it pulls up the public land question, and if you primarily shoot on a range, it pulls up these range questions?
Yeah, I think if I put something at the top that says, answer applicable questions, so it's clear that people don't feel like they need to, or maybe you can say, skip questions that might not be applicable. something to inform people that, hey, we're not expecting you to read everything. Don't feel free to skip questions that they don't apply or something along those lines to make it easier where it's like, I don't really shoot on public land. That's so on 6, I think if we change that, if you shoot primarily on public land, what challenges do you experience? And that kind of frames the question to sort of weed out those people that are not really range people.
And
And
what
so,
about,
like,
do
well,
we
I don't
have,
shoot primarily on public land. I'll just skip this one. I shoot at a range kind of deal.
and is there an option for none?
I don't think so. I think they could
Oh,
just
yeah, I do
all
not
blank.
experience. Okay, sorry.
Significant challenges.
Yeah.
The other thing I think we should add, if we're going to keep this one, I know there's already kind of a lot, is maybe parking. That was kind of under access. I think there was an seasonal access limitations. Maybe vehicle access or parking, because I think that's another one of, well, there you can have 3 people there, or I'm just thinking of some of the local gravel pits and people are parked down gravel roads or on the side of the road. And in my mind, what I'm trying to get at is if we're going to spend money to do improvements, what do people really want as an improvement? Do they want a state park level paved parking lot with a bathroom and, covered shooting? Or do they just want some berms up for safety? Maybe there's an alarm or a light that tells when people are downrange and they want a parking area with gravel. And like that's all they need and they don't care. And so if we can kind of get at some of what people care about, then I think it will help us better spend money and not spend money on stuff that people really don't care about. So
Seth, I don't know how to activate my raise my hand on my phone. I'm
that
doing
works.
it manually here. Yeah, there you go. I'd like to see this section left in from the standpoint, I think this is a demographic of shooters, as you've identified, that we really need to hear their responses from, and how there's non-defined ranges, places like you say, gravel pits, side of the road, wherever, how they're being used and what would help make those safer. I don't think the public is interested in eliminating all those places.
No,
I think
no,
that
and I would
is really
agree, and
neat.
I would think that a lot of people wouldn't want. I know there's a segment of people that wouldn't want the state to be involved if it inhibits their ability to go shoot how they want, for lack of a better term. Like if it's going to become this controlled, you have to point your gun a certain way and you have to, you can only carry it a certain way. And I think you're going to upset people if you did that. But if it's, hey, let's make it safer. Let's put a parking area in with some gravel and put a berm up so that, bullets aren't skipping into the hills. Most people I think would be happy to have that. So I think this is I think really gets at that demographic. So if there's any other questions that you have, Andy, I was just kind of reading through the list again.
Let me get back over to it.
I think let's change the distance from home to public land is too far on the next page. I think just from a flow.
Maybe something about defined firing point, and no, one of the challenges is you get out there, and so now we just roll down the window and we're shooting out the window because there's no bench or there's no defined firing point. That would
So
be the only thing. And
maybe designated shooting area or designated firing. We could do designated firing points. I mean, safety concerns
like
obviously encompasses more than just that. And maybe we do a drop down under, maybe we could do some drop down style. So there's not, if they pick safety concerns, maybe there's a drop down that says, risk of fire, shooting point, fall. I mean, maybe it's a drop down. So rather than having 10 questions sort of in a stack, we could assign them under, lack of safe backstops would be a safety concern. So if people are, maybe we could shape this a little more to be, access issue, safety issue. I gotta
Yeah,
think
we
through
don't
that
want
a
to make
little
it
bit.
complicated, but at the same time,
Right.
I know
Yeah,
that's
I was with you, Andy. I'm not, I think that would complicate things. I think since they can select as many as they want for this question, as well as there's an other box,
Yeah,
you might be
might be
okay. I mean,
good.
I can add the designated shooting point if you think that should be in there too, but they do have an opportunity to fill out
Yeah,
other.
lack of I mean, if they're checking safety concerns, yeah, I just think that the main points are people don't know where to shoot from and to. So I guess we could add lack of designated firing areas, maybe.
firing line, firing point, something. If you pull up and there's a bench, everybody knows that's where you shoot from.
Yeah.
If it's just a wide open, and we're back to the gravel pit, you'll have somebody that's downrange 25 yards from the target and somebody else that wants to shoot from 100 yards to the target. And
Okay.
I'm just going off of experience when you're in those spots. And
Senator,
back,
You give with yeah, John.
Yeah, you have the box of lack of facilities for certain shooting disciplines. You could put a specify, or and I think that covers what you're trying to get, though, don't you think? Lack of facilities for certain shoots.
I think we're on 6, so that's 8 that she scrolled back up to.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think we would get if some of the range ones would also pick up because I think that's on shooting ranges, which I mean, to your point, if it's a shooting range, a lot of people might consider a gravel pit to be a shooting range. So getting you might end up getting crossover. So that might be something we would want to clarify if it's a designated shooting range, because I think to John's point, if I go to a gravel pit or you go out by Bozeman, it's like, well, that's a shooting range as far as I'm concerned. You might end up getting crossover from people that are checking boxes on the public shooting also on number 8. So I don't know if we want to change number 8 to be sort of designated shooting ranges or official shooting ranges or something like that to try and break those out, or if we want to leave it more nebulous. That's a good question. I guess we can probably just do the same thing. We could probably just look at what we see for spikes. And I don't know who this would be, Renee, but can we correlate or get a heat map style or correlation number on individual people that answer, like if they answer questions 6 and 8, can we correlate answers to be connected?
Yes, I think you can. So although you might want to go back to what Liz was suggesting, having a do you shoot on public land? Yes, no. And then the people that say yes, then you could categorize. What I hear you saying is you want to understand between the people that say yes or no to shooting on public land, categorize number 8 by those two. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, just in reading through this, and I don't know if we necessarily need to break this out or if because in a sense the individual shooters are telling us this is what we want. They don't care if it's private range, public land, they don't really care. It's more about here's how I shoot, here's what my concerns are in general. If their concern is trash issues, I guess if it's a shooting range, then they just don't join it. So some of these I think kind of self-select, but it's probably good to know regardless of whether they're at a designated shooting range. I don't know that we need to break those out, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Then that's where I was getting at, thinking that maybe you somehow combine 6 and 8, because you're really just trying to, what are barriers to people shooting?
Yeah. So maybe it's a question, do you primarily shoot on public land? Which maybe that's a yes, no. And if it's a yes, then I don't know, maybe you combine 6 and 8 and then you have a different 8 becomes do you primarily shoot, what type of shooting range do you currently use? Which I thought I had a question that was along those lines that said, what type of ranges do you primarily use? Yeah,
Yeah.
so question 3 basically answers that. Where do you primarily shoot? So maybe 3 and 6 and 8 could be kind of combined.
Yeah, maybe you have 3 that tells you where people,
Where,
and that will give you those folks that are shooting mostly on public land, because they would be answering that as a higher, right? A 4 or a 5.
Mhm.
And then you can combine 6 and 8 to understand what their concerns and barriers are.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that's a good idea. I think otherwise we're kind of losing, it's not cohesive, I think, in what we're asking. So yeah, I think in that case, let's combine 6 and 8. Deb, can you just copy 8 and bring it up to 6 and then we can kind of look at them? I know they're not in the same format exactly, but just the list of some of those are probably gonna fall off. It's gonna be a pretty extensive list. And then that would be changed to what challenge do you experience? How was 8 phrased? Yeah, so then we could just probably change that on a scale of 1 to 5. What level of impact do the following factors have on your access to um I guess it would just be access to shooting. Because it's not really a range at that point.
Do you want it as a range? It could still
I
be a
don't because
range.
I don't want to lose the people that it's not technically a range, so I'm not gonna put this down. I don't know, shooting place, a shooting.
I think
I
just
guess
having shooting makes sense.
people will know what you mean, I think. And some of those may be, let me see if I can just put together a quick list here.
Do you want to share your screen or put it in the chat at
Yeah,
all?
I'm gonna throw in the
Beth?
chat.
Okay.
Might take a little longer. Well, and we could probably reword this too and get it out to people. I think the general idea would be that we take all of the applicable, I think everything on 6, safety, fire, conflict, limited hours, overcrowding. I think we could basically, as long as they don't overlap, I was kind of looking for overlap. Honestly, I don't know that there is. I guess some of the noise might be the same as like adjacent landowner conflict, noise or land use conflicts. I think you could take out adjacent landowner conflicts. And then you just would have noise or, I mean, land use is kind of the same thing. Lack of facilities. Yeah, I think that would be good if we just, I think that's the only one that has crossover and we could just keep the list long. And then people could just kind of select whatever. It's gonna be a lot. I'll take a stab at that too, I think once we get to the end. And
Okay,
we can
yeah,
send
will
it
you
back
just
out,
send
but I
this
think-
out to everybody, Seth? Just,
Yep.
and any other questions that there might be, that you guys might combine or whatever, we'll identify and maybe you could take a stab at it and send it out.
Yep. All right, 6 in, and then I think that that'll change the sections too, because section 3 is public land shooting experience. So I'll have to redo the sections, and honestly, we probably could take those out. I think when we get to SurveyMonkey, I don't know that those are going to help. It just kind of adds more. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I think making it fewer words, fewer pages, simpler might be easier. So we could even probably take out the section breakouts. It's probably going to be page based or individual question based, I would guess, on survey that it would pull up one page with a question next, and then you would just kind of skip, move on.
Correct.
Whatever.
Mhm.
So I don't think that those are going to flow as well as they would on paper. So if we remove that, then we don't have to worry about the public land shooting experience, etc. Access and availability. This is more of a simple question, which honestly we may get enough information, because on 6, then if that's going to be a 1 to 5 level, overcrowding, distance, so 8 would then essentially tell us what we wanted to know for 7. I have access to safe and legal places to shoot. I would participate more in shooting if there were new or improved facilities. They're kind of the same. I guess that's a good standalone question just as a data point. So I would be fine with leaving 7 unless you guys think that that's too much overlap. Good on 7?
Thoughts from anybody?
Okay, we'll keep 7. 8's combined. 9, what types of shooting would you like more access to in your area? This goes back generally to the shooting range survey. I think we added large caliber, full auto, if there's something that's not there. And then there's another. So kind of the same ideas.
I have a question, Seth and committee. So I don't think the individual survey tied them to a nearest city or county though, did it?
I thought there was a question.
There is a question at the end.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yep,
Yeah,
to
area.
get to ask for an area.
Okay, yeah, because I was gonna say, we kind of need to know where they're located
Well, and you might be
approximately.
right, because the question on 14 asked where they would like a facility located. But that doesn't necessarily mean they live in that area, or that they would want smaller ranges to be in that area.
So
So,
15 is in which county do you live?
oh, I gotcha. Okay, I saw the zip down. Gotcha. Yep, got it. That'll work. All right, so we are on.
And generally, the demographic questions come at the end. That's why it's not at the beginning.
Eight, nine. Nine's the list. There's an
Oh,
other,
Seth.
so if we didn't capture something, then that would be fine.
Hey, before we move on, I've got a question.
Sure.
So on this one, number 9, my wife's cousin runs a cowboy shooting competition
Okay.
in Valley County. And his is, I don't know, it's a competition, obviously, but I wonder, should we ask the question if there would be
Yep.
more opportunities for a cowboy shooting competition?
Yep, we can add that. We added that to the club one, the cowboy action shooting. So we could put that in there too.
Hey, Willis, would you tell me what a cowboy shooting competition is?
Basically, in an arena,
Oh, okay.
the participants use obviously special ammunition in a pistol to shoot at balloons or as they're riding by.
Oh, that sounds like fun. Okay, thank
Oh,
you.
it is. It's a real kick. So
I might add that cowboy action shooting with live ammo is a big deal. Was more so. It's declined a little bit. But there are ranges in, I believe, Valley County, Missoula County, I know. There was one at Big Fork. Anyway, it's shooting like IPSC, except with cowboy firearms, lever action rifles, double barrel, and hammered shotguns and six guns. And
yeah.
everybody dresses in costume. And anyway, it's there's the mounted shooting, as the senator shared, and then there's also the and the mounted shooting is not live ammo, so I don't know if we actually need a range for that. That's usually done on a rodeo type ground anyway. But the other is live fire, and there is probably a need for addressing and questioning
Cowboy action.
that. Yeah, for
Well, I think if we add cowboy action, yeah, cowboy action shooting, I think is what they call it.
yeah, cowboy action, single action shooting society is the organization that kind of governs that.
Yeah, I think if you put cowboy action shooting, if they're involved in that or in any way, they'll know what you mean.
Yeah.
Cool. John?
Yeah, just in reference to mounted shooting, it is a real kick if you got a horse that doesn't like it. Just saying.
It's a
from
rodeo of
personal
sorts, huh?
experience.
Yep.
Oh, nice. Yep, so 10 was kind of combined under 7. Number 11, what additional amenities would be most likely to increase your use of shooting facilities? Maybe we should do well, I think shooting. Maybe we should change facilities to ranges. I think if I'm thinking shooting facility, I might be thinking like it's the buildings, not necessarily the shooting area. This kind of goes back to the public land a little bit. But if a range probably gives us a crossover on that. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys think this then becomes kind of duplicitous with the duplication of the 6-8, because we kind of left that to be a little more open-ended. So if you have, what are your concerns? What, if you shoot public land, Deb, could you go back to number 6? Because we had changed that, I think, to primarily on public land. I think we probably would want,
I don't think we did change it to public land because of
Okay.
that other question
so we
that
took
asked
that
where you,
out.
yeah.
So then that might be kind of 6, 8, and 11 are all kind of the same then. Because you've got weather exposure, noise. I guess people could skip it too, but what additional amenities would it likely increase your shooting facilities? So if this is more of a checkbox, it's less of a how much. So if like, oh, I kind of want this. I guess maybe that's good information, so we could leave that. All right, good with 11, 12. Do you currently participate in organized shooting events or competitions? Yes, no, not available. I would have available. And then this will be a drop down too. I'm guessing if yes, they click yes and they'll say, okay, what level do you compete or whatever, local, state, regional, national?
Correct. If they say no or not currently, it won't show this one.
Okay. 13, 1 to 5. How interested would you be in the following events if they were available? Local competitions, training, educational, youth programs, volunteer, etc. I think that might be helpful to see if people are looking for something, if they're not interested in any of that. I'm kind of wondering on the first question if we want to clarify that to, competitions in your area. I think if I read that as local competitions, I'm reading that as sort of small town competitions versus reading it as any type of, maybe a national competition that's nearby. So maybe we change local competitions to competitive events in your area.
I like that. I like that concept, competitive uh, uh, competitions in your area rather than just simply local.
Youth hunter. All right. I think that kind of is probably good enough. Statewide facility, on a scale of 1 to 5, how interested are you in having a premier shooting sports complex in the following locations? I like that. That should give us more of I kind of like this area and this area, or, it should give us a better indication of where people really like it versus yes or no. I think that's helpful. John?
Yeah, with I think there's probably a significant number of individuals that are not interested in a premier shooting sports complex, and there are probably almost an equal number that are interested in. And so, do we do a yes, no on this, and then
A drop, yeah.
have the questions as to what area do you think it should be in?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Maybe we do a kind of a drop down on, are you interested or would you be interested in, I don't know if interested is the right, would you be in favor of or
Yeah,
something along those lines?
yeah, be in favor of rather than interested. Be in
Would you be in
favor of,
favor of Montana building a premier shooting sports complex?
yes
I
or
think
no?
that's generally, well, maybe favor is not the right word. I'm trying to think of some sort of a word that would say, yeah, I would, or would attend, um, or would would you use a premier shooting sports complex, or I don't know. Maybe if you use, would you be in favor? If somebody says no, then that kind of prevents them. I think what you'd be trying to event with the people that would go down the list and just put like a one for everything. I don't know that that would necessarily mean anything because we're just looking for, I think, the highest number. Like if we get 1,000 responses, what areas receives the greatest interest? So maybe, I don't know, John, what do you think about if is there a reason that we wouldn't just leave it open? And if somebody wants to put one for everything, that wouldn't really affect the outcome unless they were, intentionally skewing it away from their area or something, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
I think we would be looking more for the peaks for high interest. So we're looking for, I would guess this is a weighted from 3 up, it's weighted. And then you would just look for the highest number of marks in an area. So if, Bozeman's way up here and the rest are all just neutral or don't care, then that kind of tells us where the interest would be. I don't know. Do you have, I don't know if Renee has any insight or on the methodology behind this. That's how I'm kind of assuming it would work from a graph perspective.
Um, there is a situation regarding the Premier Sports Complex. What kind of shooting sports would it be capable of?
I think we left that open to mean this would kind of cross back up to what people selected that they wanted. And I think
Okay.
the idea is that everyone would assume that it encompasses their chosen sport. So if I'm a shotgun, I would assume that a shooting sports complex would encompass most of the major disciplines. You can shoot shotgun or rifle or pistol or long range would be kind of an encompassing.
I would think
Or
so.
maybe you do a premier multi-sport shooting complex. Maybe we could phrase that slightly differently. A premier multi-sport shooting complex.
Or multi-shooting sports complex. Or multi. Uh,
Multifaceted, all encompassing.
Yeah.
hmm,
Well, I guess I can go look at some of the other ranges that I've pulled up and see what they called them.
yeah. Could you do
I
that?
think I think we call it multidisciplined.
There you go.
There you go, Andy. As usual.
No, no. I don't know how to raise my hand. I don't know much else. So
You're
Yeah,
doing great,
multidiscipline
Andy.
sounds good.
I was going to chime in, Seth. You were asking about some ideas for how to frame this. If you want to get a little bit more information, like I think I'm hearing that you guys are looking for number one, who would use or go to or support or favor, whatever the right word is, a premier shooting sports complex. So that would be interesting just to know out of all the people surveyed, how many would be interested in that versus not. And then follow-up question for those that are interested in it, in what area would they be most interested in having it at? So I am kind of hearing it could give you a little more information if you took a two-pronged approach by first asking a yes/no
Would you
question.
use?
Yeah.
That's good input. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I think so maybe we swap around. So if you go 15 was the demographic question. So 14 is the one we're working on. 15 asks where they live, and then 16 asks how far would you be willing to travel to use a premier statewide shooting facility? One of the drop downs, and maybe this could be number one, I would not travel. That was one of our questions. Pick one. I would not travel to use one, less than 50 miles, etc. So maybe we could use that as the precursing question. So we could put 16 up above, and then if they select I would not travel, then we would get a number of people that filled out the survey and selected that. We would know the percentage. And if they say any of the remaining 4 questions, then it drops into, okay, I would travel this far. Which areas would you be interested in? And maybe we do those in reverse, or maybe we would move, I have no interest. Or maybe it's a precursor question. Maybe 14 is, would you use or attend a premier multidiscipline shooting complex? If the answer is no, then 16 just drops off. And so you don't have that follow-on question. We could use that as a precursor. I think it's in
So-
16, but
Yeah, I'm thinking if you put 14 there, would you change it to a yes, no? If they say yes, then you could add the travel part in, and if they also say yes, then it goes to this.
okay.
If you
I think that
think-
sounds good.
Okay. If you
So
want both.
14 would become a yes, no. 15, I think 15 could probably go to after. I think we'd want to line all these up because they would be follow-on questions. So then the next question would be, how far are you willing to travel to use a facility? If the answer was yes, and then they would select, maybe it's I'm not willing to travel, and then there's nothing after that. If we want to kind of continue that theme, or we just leave that off, and then there would be 2 follow-ons. So if it's no, then they don't see 15 or 16. They drop off. If they say yes, then it says, how far would you be willing to travel and where would you like it? That might be a survey question on which one of those you would put first. If you would want to know where they want it. I guess if they're all based on, if this is a high interest, low interest, then that kind of fixes the problem. They're associated but separate questions. So I think that would work. Yes, no, how far, where would you want it?
I think that would work really well in SurveyMonkey, and it would be real streamlined. So if somebody said yes, they're going to get 2 additional
All
questions.
right,
If
how
they
far would
say
you be willing to travel? Probably this far. All right, now where would be your optimal spots? Okay, I would like interested in here, not interested in here.
Mhm.
Okay. That sounds good. So then 16, the current 16 would be a drop down. Well, I guess 16 would become 15. So we would keep 16 as the precursor to what is now 14.
Yep, right. Yeah, I have it right up here.
Okay.
I just didn't renumber it, but I'm
all
just
good.
putting it in the order. Yeah.
All right, so those are done. Final thoughts. So 17, in your opinion, what's the single most important improvement needed to support shooters in Montana? Short answer. I think we could almost on some of these. I don't know if we'd want to put like optional, or I guess if they're all technically optional.
You can set up the survey to force
Just-
people to take every question
Or you
or
can
allow
skip.
them to skip. Yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
hearing that you guys would like to allow them to
A
skip.
skip. I think if we just set it up as a skip on SurveyMonkey, people are kind of used to that. They can just go in. If they're not interested, they just skip it.
So it sounds like, Seth, there was that one question that you were going to rework and send out to everybody. It was at the
The 6-8.
681, yeah, that you were going to send
Yep.
out to everybody. But all the other questions, it sounds like
I think we're
are
good.
good. I mean, we're gonna, reword these and do our magic on the what are they called? Smart questions. So they leap to a certain spot. So we'll
Okay.
do all that, but I think we still just need approval on that 6-8 language
Yep.
from the group. And otherwise, I think this looks okay, right?
Yep, I think we're good.
Okay. Okay.
I have one more question, maybe Deb. Is there any way to prevent the same person from taking it multiple times?
Yes, there is. It's tied. I mean, well,
So like an IP or
it's
something.
it's tied to the computer. So if you have 5 family members who want to take it, they have to use different computers. Or one person could have to computer, but that would be exhausting, I think, and, and I'm not sure anybody would be willing to do that.
Okay.
So the easy answer is it's tied to one computer can only provide one answer.
And do we want to put anywhere that their submissions will be anonymous? Or like Mitch was suggesting, maybe in the chat, do we want their name and info and enter them into some kind of a drawing?
Well, we could do that, but I would love to have where they can also voluntarily put their email address so that
Option.
we have that to continue with that communication as we go forward with this commission, as well as if they are willing to give us their email address.
So we could put that as an option that they don't have to fill it out, but if they want to, and we could put a blurb in here about staying in touch with the shooting task force.
Okay.
Yep. That sounds good. Cool.
Again, I just want to say thank you to Seth and your group for doing such a great job at working through this process. I really do appreciate it. I think you guys have done a great job, and to Fish, Wildlife, and Parks as well, for being such a great teammates on this.
Mitch, go ahead. You have your hand up.
Yeah, I echo Carrie's thoughts. It was fun to be on the group and work with the group, but I think really the kudos got to go to Seth for all the work he did on this to refine it. The one thing I did have a question about, and it's not a question that would generate a change to the questionnaire, but I think for us as a group, we have to realize that we have a questionnaire out there talking about a destination shooting area that's going to primarily Montana hunters and shooters. And a big missing piece of that puzzle might be Montana tourism. Would they be interested in seeing a local shooting area that is a destination facility that attracts a lot of people in? And then on that same sort of front, there's a whole lot of national and international groups that Andy probably better could spin off and give us the names of those groups that we might want to at some point in time reach out if we do get serious about a destination multifaceted or multi-disciplined shooting area. We might want to reach out to them. I'd add, things like the Olympic shooting sports groups, those sort of things that we don't want to leave out and ask them, because they may say, hey, we're super saturated, or hey, we do think we need an extra place to hold international or national events. But just be thinking about that, folks.
That's great input, Mitch. And I think that so Andy, keep that in the back of your brain as we go forward with the PR side of this, because that's going to be what we're going to be thinking through, is who we should reach, how we reach them, even though it's a short period of time. I think that that's really great input, though. So we may be reaching back out to you as well to help us with the PR side of this.
As Mitch was talking, I was going over some of those different national and international organizations and the main focus of where they meet now for those competitions. For example, NRA Bullseye and long range competition, Department of Civilian Marksmanship, they meet at Camp Perry. They just got done holding the SAS World Championships, Ben Avery Range in Phoenix, Arizona. Olympic tryouts and matches were held in Atlanta, I think. and also in Colorado Springs. So there's already some different places where they host some of those things, but there's also opportunities as those things grow to bring them here. So I think it's a good idea. Just sharing the processing.
Yeah, when you get into design work, I've heard people talk about long range shooting has to be facing north and all of that. All those issues that are so important.
Can
You
we
know.
segue very quickly? We've only got Courtney for about 20 minutes.
Yep.
Would this be okay, Seth? Do you think for us, we can come back and wrap this up? But if we head over to the Courtney section real quickly, is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, I think we're pretty much done unless anyone's got last comments. I think I just have to clean up that 6-8 question and then maybe the sentence or two before to send out to everyone, but I think everyone's good with it.
Go
Perfect.
ahead, Senator Fuller. He had a quick question, I think.
Yeah, just in publication of a premier shooting complex, just tell everybody that Taylor Sheridan is in favor of it. Just saying.
Perfect.
There will not be a Yellowstone brand on anything that I have my name associated with. I'm just going to throw that out there.
We are not
I
going to
have
have
lines and limits.
no train station attached to this.
That's right. All right.
Okay,
All right.
thank you all. I was going to suggest a break, but since we only have Representative Springer for a little bit, we'll just go straight into this and maybe take a break right after.
All right. Hey, thanks, Deb. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay.
Yeah.
I do apologize. I had a board meeting that's normally 8 to noon on the third Wednesday of the month, but it got moved up to noon to 3, and then we have an event. So I am ducking out to that just to make sure I had a little time here. And then Representative Seekins Crow and I spent probably about an hour collectively on the phone in the last week discussing ideas. So we also met earlier just to give the group a recap to talk about potential strategy. And I know, Deb, you recorded all of that. I think you're going to look into some things. I have probably 3 very kind of straightforward tiers that I would recommend to the group that we take forward in order to start promoting this and building awareness around it. And actually, Senator Fuller makes a great point, which it could be of some interest to take a look at if there are prominent personalities who might be interested and supportive, at least of the work, who might want to share it through an influencer platform of sorts. We just have to keep in mind those people obviously have their own opinions and might steer the message a little bit. But the first thing I would say to do is obviously going to be very simple and very straightforward. We have a survey coming forward. So the first thing we need to do for the public is the so what and who cares. So we have to get to the why of why this matters for Montana, why people should care, why it's going to make their life better, richer, fuller. And I think we can probably frame that up pretty simply. And then obviously it's a call to action. And I think probably it makes sense to put together a press release. I recommended we just take advantage of using the House Republicans press secretary if we wanted to. That's somebody that's always kind enough to draft things up. We can certainly have the committee look at it before it goes out. I think this can be done in a we obviously have a mixed committee, so I think that we can probably have a generally nonpartisan take to it. So we have sports men and women from all sides of the political spectrum, but he probably is a resource that we can use since this bill was sponsored by Representative Seekins Crow. And so we are thinking we probably take advantage of reaching out to Joey to have him put something together once we get the messaging clear. And then we will have him disseminate it, distribute it because he's got like a pretty solid statewide media list of present folks that are working in politics. So if that's okay with the group, I'll go through all 3 tiers of what I think we should do. And then if there are any questions or any heartburn about approvals on materials, messaging, that kind of thing, let's round those out at the end. So the first thing to do would be to do a very traditional earned media push for this one. That's a obviously low cost effort, especially with our people in place. The second would be to put together, and Deb, I'm hoping you might be able to help us with this, but a comprehensive list of stakeholder groups, influencers, associated membership organizations that we can disseminate this to ourselves or even have maybe Joey's help with getting this out, depending on who wants to manage it. I know this next 60 days is really busy for everybody who's an elected right now. And so that would be the next thing, would be to basically take advantage of using folks who already have inset networks. If you look at even FWP themselves, I think they have, gosh, I don't remember when I asked them about it, somewhere between 5 and 10,000 emails of people that want to be updated on what's happening with FWP and related news. So we can kick the survey out through them. We can talk to the Sportsman Caucus. We can talk with the NRA. We can talk with Shooting Sports and all of them and see how many would be willing to help us distribute the survey. And that's a pretty wide ranging way to get that information out. And then the third, which is probably a little bit more of a lift, would be to work with my friend Andy, who's an amazing content creator. Andy, I'm kind of hoping you might be willing to stand up like a Facebook and an Instagram for us. And then between the three of us, Andy, Carrie, me, and I'm thinking maybe Seth, if you're game also, if we could put together like one piece of content each, I would maybe not weekly, but possibly weekly. Like I think if we each contributed 2 pieces of content that's meaningful of some sort, quick video, an update, pictures from a tour, quotes or thoughts from people that are supportive, whatever that looks like, we could figure that out. We can probably populate the page with enough information, and we can all use our networks to invite people to get involved and get interested. Plus, if we have those social media pages, I would recommend we kick those out with the press release that goes out to let people know, here's where you can kind of get a regular update of what's going to be going on with this project, in addition to the more formalized state system where people can go get public information. So those are the 3 tiers as I see them, would be earned media, press release with our survey, link to the survey, drive to the survey, call to action, and the social media links in it if my friend Andy feels like he has time. I know we talked about it. Second would be to push this, probably the press release itself, out to our stakeholder groups directly and through FWP and ask them if they would distribute it to their mailing lists. And then third would be to stand up social media and potentially put a little bit of money. It probably wouldn't even have to be a lot, maybe a couple $100 if we have it. Carrie, you let me know. Behind pushing the survey or a link to the survey out through social media channels. That's what
we do have some funding, so I think that
Okay.
there's some ways we could do that.
It wouldn't have to be it shouldn't have to be a lot. And I honestly think probably the most effective solution we're going to have are probably to when we get started are going to be our first 2, because as I'm sure any one of us knows, some things will grow faster than others, but it'll take us a while to get the same kind of coverage through social media if we were just starting there organically, although I think all 3 are important. So since I I think we talked about this, Andy, but I was literally getting ready for my wedding, so I could have just completely hallucinated that you said you might stand those pages up for me. Am I wrong in thinking that?
No, Courtney, and first, congratulations on your wedding.
Thank you.
Your
Thank
social
you.
media was beautiful, and
Thank
so were
you.
you, and the lucky guy. Anyway, all that was wonderful. I will go to work on that. I'm mindful also that social media is a sometimes dicey path to walk down with gun related stuff. And so as we do that, we'll have to keep that in mind. Anything that looks like we're promoting rat-a-tat-tat, pew-pew-pew, they get a little upset about sometimes. But we'll watch that, and we'll try to do a standalone pages, not linked to, any business or anything, but just the task force itself. And I think we can also set it up so it cross-populates between if it's posted on Facebook, it goes to the Instagram, automatically, and vice versa, save us some time.
Totally. We talked about FWP actually sharing that content to their page. Obviously, they can't. It didn't sound like they could organically create it, but they can certainly push it out.
Yep.
I'll jump in here, Representative Sprunger. So I did talk to our Communication Education Division Administrator as well as Garrett Turner, and we talked about what we can do, and like I said, we have to obviously post a lot about a lot of things, and there is some you know, social media fatigue on behalf of our customers. But we can send it out to Gov Delivery, the press release that's created by whomever you choose. We can send that out to our email list, which is thousands and thousands of folks, and that will have the link to the survey in it for the individuals. We also can post. I was talking to Greg, the division administrator, and he thought maybe a couple times would be reasonable to post on our Facebook page about the survey, and not just on the main FWP page, but also the regional FWP pages. We could probably post about that as well, up to 2 times for the survey. So in terms of sharing content from that you guys create, I didn't ask about that. Not something I would have to check on to see if we could do that, but we certainly can advertise the surveys. Seth?
Seth,
Yes.
yeah.
Go ahead, Seth.
Oh, yeah. So I was just going to ask, would it be possible to get, and I know it's possible, but could FWP send out QR code, either sheets of paper or, you know, stickers, something that we could post with the license ambassadors? Because I know that you've got everyone coming in to buy a hunting license. It's, you know, you can do it online now, so there's maybe not as many people that do it in person, but like I know we have it set up in our shop, and if you had some sort of a, you know, if you love shooting and want to see more ranges or something, and you know, please fill out the survey with a link to it, you are going to get a lot of folks that are going to cycle through, and all of your, you know, mostly gun shops, but maybe gas stations or whatever, that are going to do that. Seems like that might be a good way of getting the word out to sort of some non just gun people centric, but also they're all hunters and outdoorsmen.
Yeah, we did talk about the licensed ambassadors. I mean, we did in this group. Don't think I did bring that up. I'm not sure, you know, how we can do that. I'll check and see if it's going to be an easy thing to do. We did talk about developing a QR code and having, you know, businesses put them up. The problem is, you know, our capacity getting these posters out to certain folks. You know, if they could print them out and hang them up, that would be a whole lot easier, because then we could just use our email list.
Yeah.
But actually going out to individuals and bringing a printed copy, that's a lot of work on our part, and I'm not sure that we could do that.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking that they could just be sent out with, you know, regulation drops or something where, you know, the black bear regulations show up and you've got a packet of information and there's a page in there that just kind of gets thrown in with something else if it was convenient. But I do think if you just had an email that was attached and said, hey, you know, your people are probably interested, feel free to print out this QR code and post it next to the license counter. I think a lot of people would do that, and then that's a lot simpler than someone having to put pages in somewhere.
Agreed. And I'll see about being able to use that mailing list for this.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mandy?
Hi, I was just going to say, I also reached out to the Montana Chamber of Commerce, and they're willing to put any information into their chamber newsletter. So I've connected them with Garrett at FWP. I've also reached out to the Secretary of State to see if they would be willing to send anything out to their stakeholder group as well, just for business registrations. And it sounds like they would likely be able to do that. And then just Commerce can share whatever needs to be shared on our social media pages as well for the Department of Commerce. So happy to do that. As soon as I hear back from Secretary of State with a confirmation, I can let Deb know as well.
Oh, that's wonderful, Mandy. Thank you.
That makes Mandy our first basically stakeholder ambassador. So we'll be looking for those exact kind of partners, both within our government agencies if we got them, and then other quasi-government and non-governmental. And so thanks for providing the example.
Well, it helps when the contact at the Secretary of State is one of the 11 other kids I graduated from high school with. So gotta love Montana.
Well, I don't think I have anything else, Representative Seekins Crow. I wanted to make it digestible for the group to be able to kind of go through one, two, three. I think timing would be, we can probably start forming the press release. In fact, we can start forming the press release. Like, I think I was hoping to get sort of just a general stream of consciousness from you. And then I like on your vision and a few key things we're going to be looking at just to make sure I've got those clear and I'm getting them right. And I'll put together a press release with Joey and I can kick it back to the subcommittee at least to review that, take a peek at it. And I might, if Seth is so willing, I might ask if he might also take a peek at it, just given sort of how ingrained you are in the shooting sports industry directly, along obviously with Andy. So that would be
Yeah.
maybe a help to us to take a
Happy
look at
to.
that, make sure we didn't make some kind of faux pas on the language.
Happy to.
And once we get the our website set up to host the survey, we'll definitely provide that to you, representatives, so you have that included in the press release, so people will have that linked.
What's kind of
Deb-
the timeline that we're looking at right now for getting all of that set up so that we can drop the PR at that point?
I'll look to Renee about how long she thinks it'll take her staff to put this into SurveyMonkey.
Okay.
If you guys would give us 1 week, that would be plenty.
Oh, that's fine.
So Representative Seekins Crow, would you send me just like an email with a paragraph or two, just your thoughts? Honestly, it can be completely informal, particularly as a sponsor, and then I'll try to take a look at some of the background documents and we'll put together, I mean, the press release is usually ideally a page or less, like a page, right? So it does not have to be incredibly long. We just need to give a why statement, what we're hoping to address, and obviously what we're going to do to make the world a better place here. And sort of some of our key first steps, including this call to action. We can do placeholders for the website and social media. And then I guess I'm since I'm quarterbacking this little section of it, Andy, can you give me an idea of, or do you, if you can follow up afterwards, of what you think timing would be for standing those pages up so that we can ideally we'll roll this all out to the public kind of in the same time frame.
Yes, I'll try and take a look at what that's going to take to put it together this weekend or by this weekend, and then get back with you, Representative Springer.
Andy, I've got some pictures I'm going to send to you as well. So, and then all of us, as we go shooting or whatever we're doing, we can continue to just feed you with the content and the information as well.
I'll,
I think
one of us should
okay.
initiate a group chat or something so we can share those things. Sure.
Perfect.
Is there any limitation, Deb, like to our subcommittee that's working on PR and communications is trying to get this going? Is there any like open meeting laws that we have to meet when we're sharing content like this?
I'll double check with legal, but basically, I mean, you can't have a quorum, on an email, chain or chat. So as long as you have less than half of you working on this together, I think that'll be fine. But I'll double check with legal. I mean, when you're trying to share content, it is going to end up being very public. So I'll double check with them, but generally it's making sure you don't have a quorum.
Okay. I think that's all for me, Representative Seekins Crow. Is there anything else I can do for the edification of the committee before I depart?
Thank you so much, Courtney. You
Thank
you
you.
are so appreciated. And again, congratulations.
Thank you. It's good to be back. We'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Let's maybe take a 10-minute break. Does that work for everybody? And we'll just be back here at 3:10.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I don't know if you guys are back yet, but if you are, please turn on your cameras. I'm again apologizing for mine, but it's in everyone's best interest. Okay, I think I want to make sure that Natalie is back. Is Natalie here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Natalie. It is time for the public feedback section of the agenda, where you're just going to hear from folks in the public that have maybe a comment or something to say, something to offer. You are welcome to interact with them if you'd like. That's your choice. They could speak first, and I'll go through the list. And then if you guys have follow-up questions for them, we could call them back on. But let's start. We had 8, and now we're down to 6 members of the public. Does anybody have a comment? Please raise your hand, and I'll take you in the order that I see you. We have Jeff Ham. And Jeff, when I allow you to talk, just please say if you're just representing yourself or if you're representing an organization, and you can unmute now. Jeff Ham, if you can unmute yourself. You're still muted. I will come back to you. Okay, so we have the Bitterroot Sporting Club. If you could unmute.
Can you hear me?
We can. Please state your name.
Excellent. My name is Jessie Ellis. I shoot with the Bitterroot Sporting Club, which was formerly the Hamilton Trap Club. I just wanted to ask if you have any timeline for when those surveys will be going out, and I apologize if I missed it. I've been in and out a little bit.
Sure, I guess I could answer that for you. We're going to get them entered into SurveyMonkey in about a week, so I would say within 2 weeks, we will probably send out the survey.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have Elsa Thiessen. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name poorly. You can unmute.
Yep, sorry, that's in my daughter's name. This is
Okay.
Mark. Are you able to hear me?
Okay, go ahead, Mark.
Excellent. Thanks for all you guys are doing and working on. One question I had on the individual survey number 3 is what established meant, because I think there's a lot of places on public land where people shoot regularly and they might think it's established, but maybe not. I don't mean to try to cause confusion if it's clear enough already. And then another question I had is the individual survey seems really focused towards shooters, and I am a shooter and know a lot of shooters that I'll send it to, but I also know a lot of non-shooters who are currently being really heavily impacted by shooting, and didn't know the best way for them to submit input, if it's just via that individual survey or if it's by submitting emails. And the long of it is that I live in the Butte area and I enjoy shooting, but there's not real well close established areas. And a lot of the national forest areas near other recreation sites are just getting hammered by shooters, and it's kind of causing issues. So hoping to get a range nearby.
Thank you. Does anybody on the committee want to respond to the non-shooter question?
Seth, is that something that you thought through with this questionnaire?
Not really. That does raise a very interesting point, though. The idea that there are people that would want shooters to have somewhere to go shoot that don't shoot was not necessarily part of that. I think one of our questions that, I mean, obviously anyone can fill out the survey, so it's not limited to shooters. I think that might be a question that we can push over to Courtney to think about on the social side of, you know, potentially these are people that are maybe even anti-shooting, or, you know, at least anti-people shooting where they recreate, walk their dogs, whatever, might want to have shooting range established to move people out of just shooting randomly. So that might be something we should talk to social about. We also could look at adding a question on section 1 on the individual that is, I am not a shooter. So I think that might be a good point to add to the shooting, whereas someone clicks that, obviously and maybe it just none of the rest of the applicable questions pop up if they do that.
Well, because I know
Jeff,
South Dakota, oh, I'm sorry, just real quickly, South Dakota, even with where they put their range, I think it's out by Sturgis in that area, it has created a lot of heartache and consternation with the ranchers. You know, people who shoot all the time. But I do think it is something, and I do appreciate you bringing that up, that, you know, just maybe have that section.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think we could probably add that at least to section 1, as the first question of I am not a shooter. That would
Well, I
at least
think-
give us that demographic point.
Yeah, Seth, this is Rich. I think it's an interesting point that, you know, and again, maybe it just needs to be in the back of our minds. We're kind of being specific about what we're asking here, but I think Mark does bring a good point. I mean, if you have one of these ranges and they're shooting, you know, in the summertime when you could shoot till say almost 9-10 o'clock at night, maybe that's around an area where people live, or at least close proximity, or something like that. I mean, I definitely get the point of that, and I think it's a good question. Just I don't know exactly how to put it in there, but I think it is a good point to bring up.
Yeah, I would agree that is a good point. I might take a quick look through the individual and see if there's some areas where we might be able to add something that would potentially cater to people that are looking for or have input on where shooting ranges should be, or if there's a problem.
And certainly, I think to your point, Seth, anybody can take the survey, and I think it will benefit from that question, but anybody can take the survey. And also, if anybody writes to me, you know, my name's on the website as a contact for the shooting task force. So if anybody emails me, I will forward that information to the entire task force as well.
Perfect.
Okay, Jeff, we're coming back to you, Jeff Ham. I've allowed you to talk. If you could unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now, Deb?
We can hear you now, Jeff.
Oh, hooray. So this is Jeff Ham. I'm a citizen. I reside in Red Lodge in Carbon County. And these comments may be a little premature, but I'll put them out there for your consideration anyhow. On Sunday, July 27th of last year, at an informal, non-designated shooting range on Forest Service land 5 miles outside of Red Lodge, a shooter using illegal munitions on Forest Service land started a fire that quickly burned out of control. Luckily, the humidity was high that day, the winds were low, local response was rapid, and within 90 minutes, aircraft from Billings were on site, dropping retardant, and the fire was completely contained the following day. Less than half a mile up the canyon, and this is a one-way in, one-way out canyon, is the Timber Crest Girl Scout camp run by the Girl Scouts of Montana and Wyoming. Just a few hours before that fire, parents and campers were gathering for their final goodbyes and departures for their session the previous week. I don't have to describe the risk or the worst outcomes that scenario presented. So I would encourage the task force to include in the criteria it recommends for state investment the mitigation of risk that can be represented by informal, undesignated shooting ranges in underserved areas. And I would support the earlier comment to try and get feedback on the survey from those folks who aren't necessarily shooters. So thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Jeff.
And yes, thank you, Jeff. I just want to chime in here and say thank you so much. I do know that is that generally the shooting sports participants in the industry absolutely want to make sure that we remain solid in the Montana values, that we take care of each other, that we don't create unnecessary hazards ourselves, because I do know that that was one of the concerns within within the questionnaire. And that may be where the non-shooters say, hey, go to an area that where we can mitigate that risk. But we do know, of course, you know, hunters, well, it wasn't hunting season then, but they do shoot on, you know, when they're hunting. So I really do appreciate your input there. Does anybody else have anything for Mr. Ham?
So, Mr. Ham, this is Willis Curdy. I represent a Senate district in Missoula County. So a few sessions ago, I did get legislation passed to ban the use of exploding targets when the fire danger reached a certain critical point. My question to you, was there a prosecution on this for use of the exploding targets?
It is being litigated. The Forest Service is not disclosing any information, but they are pursuing the matter.
Okay, thank you, sir. So maybe Deb and Seth, this does bring up, I think, an interesting point. You know, I don't know how in our survey we'd approach this. I know you heard, you know, where we are as far as state law is concerned. But I think this needs somewhere along the way to be addressed because in some cases, you know, obviously ignitions can happen from just plinking away and you hit a spark and starts pretty dry material on fire. So again, I don't know if this is something that can be addressed here, but it is something I think that we should at least pay attention to carefully.
Well, I do know that the questionnaire does ask about specifically, is this one of the concerns is a fire hazard? And I think that if we're especially dealing with public areas that don't have the berm, that aren't specifically set up for shooting, that is definitely a concern there. Seth, if you think that it's appropriate, or I mean, because we aren't really talking about, we're just talking about people's shooting habits. I mean, it could be something that if we saw a lot of people just go out and shoot indiscriminately in the forest on public lands, especially around Butte, because they don't have a place where they can go shoot, that might help us engage a little bit more with that. But I don't know if this is the right place for us to, you know, do a PR about fire safety. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I can, you know, just giving this some thought, I think both people that have chimed in, Jeff and Mark, have sort of stated similar concerns of it's the public land use conflict, safety concerns, which I think are legitimate from both. Other shooters feel that way about other shooters, or, you know, even if I don't go and shoot, there's an issue potentially. I almost feel like we may need to have a separate survey potentially that we maybe put out. Maybe it's a link in the original that it's okay if you're not if this is going to be an online survey, maybe there's an abbreviated survey that only deals with non-shooters, because obviously a lot of this is towards shooting. We could potentially come up with a non-shooter survey that when we send this out, whoever gets the link to it, that in the, you know, towards the top of the survey, there's a link that says, hey, if you're not a shooter, but you have concerns about shooting or would like to weigh in, please go here and leave your feedback. And it's you know, kind of what we were talking about with the questions that I'm working on compiling of, is it land use? Is it fire safety? Is it overcrowding? Is it trash? Is it, proximity to other recreational uses? Because I think that would be helpful for us to kind of see where there's these conflict areas, because those are probably areas where we would want to prioritize range, either building out a specific range somewhere or giving people a place to go. So I don't know. I don't know the great way to do that. Obviously, they could just go fill out the survey and kind of muddle their way through, but it may be easier just to try and take a stab at doing a non-shooting survey.
What about, instead of doing a whole separate survey, what about the first question being, I'm not a shooter, but I want to give my
Yeah.
input or something. And then it just pulls up, maybe 2 or 3 questions that talk about those items instead of having 2 separate surveys. Just say, whether you shoot or not, please take this survey and have
Yeah,
it pick
I
the
think we
smart
could do
choices,
that. I
That
think
that could work.
And then the way the questions are is obviously a lot of them wouldn't be applicable to a non-shooter, but then a lot of them would be. So I think it goes back to that section 1. If section 1, if the first question was, I'm not a shooter, but I have an interest or I have concerns or some phrasing thereof. I'm not a shooter, but I want to leave feedback. Then that then brings up a list of, there's 6 questions I think that'd be applicable, or 8 questions. That might be the best way to do it.
So I thought what Liz, I like that idea too. I think it compiles it all into the whole objective of what we're trying to do. And I don't think it has to be 20 some questions.
Yep. Well, most of them, how far do you travel to shoot? I don't. How far, do you shoot on public land? No. The ones that would come up would be what challenges do you experience, or what areas do you see as safety concerns? Then you've got, it's that list, that 6-8 compile is really the big one. But then there's also a few of, I guess some of the later ones for, let me see. I mean, really, there's not that many questions. 18, 17, and 18 could be there. The final thoughts, fill it in your opinion, what's the most important improvement needed to support shooters? Give them a place to shoot away from my house, or I don't know. So
Yeah. The other thing, Seth, that might be is if there was a facility or a range close to you, would you participate in shooting sports? That might be also, because sometimes some people aren't shooters because of proximity.
I think we had, well, yeah, 10 that was the old 10, but it got moved to 7. So we have that in there.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Deb.
Yes.
So, I think I agree that we need to put together some questions for non-shooters. More towards both describing their relationship with shooters, but also awareness of because they aren't going to see if a way we're thinking about designing this, that if they're non-shooters, they're pushed over into a different type of survey or different survey, and they're asked other questions. And I think those questions would be more towards public, its impact on the public. And obviously starting fire, are they aware of fire conditions or whatever? But have other states put together any surveys like this?
I honestly do not know. And that's why we really wanted to hear from states that went through this already to see what they did and how they got to where they landed. So I am not sure, but we'll definitely be hearing from at least 3 other states on what they did next month.
I can ask
I know what-
Nephi if he knows of any other states for you, Willis.
That'd be great.
Because we do need to address this, but I'm still kind of flummoxed at this point, how to word it. So.
Let me go back to the public quickly. Is there anybody else that would like to provide public comment or feedback to the task force? If so, please raise your hand. We have one more, Neil Bowman. I'm going to allow you to talk. If you could just unmute, please. Go ahead, Neil. I see that you're unmuted, but we can't hear you. Still cannot hear you. I'm sorry, Neil. I see that you're unmuted, but we're not hearing anything. I'll come back to you one more time at the end to see if you can figure that out. But for now, I will see if there's.
Deb, why don't you ask him if he's turned up his volume?
I think you just did. Neil, go ahead and try to unmute again. Neil, can you turn up your volume or?
And Neil, if we don't get you today, don't hesitate to send us an email with your question.
Yeah, I'll check back with you one more time. We do have another hand up. So Neil, we're gonna come back to you. Jim, I don't see a last name. I'm going to allow you to talk. If you could unmute yourself, Jim.
Can you hear me?
We can now.
Oh, good. All right. My name is Jim Foster, and Neil was going to speak for our club, but he's having problems with his mic for some reason. Yeah, I'm a shooter up here in the Flathead County, and we have a range that's been in place for about 30 years called the North Valley Sportsman Club. It's got a little bit of a different name on your map, and that's fine. It's the same place, same website. We're not exactly sure if this is the right place to say this, but and I appreciate what you guys are doing, and I appreciate this legislation. It's very, very timely. But our concern is more about survival. We don't have an issue with facilities. We have a great range. We have 600 members. We're, just been going along really well. And the difficulty we have is we are on a state land lease with the DNRC, and we are potentially facing a tripling of our lease this year. This is what the scuttlebutt says that's going out right now. And that has us tremendously concerned because for our survival, if we cannot pay this lease, we lose out. And so do 600 members and everybody else that comes to shoot from the Flathead Valley and the Columbia Falls, Kalispell, Whitefish area. So that's really the comment we wanted to make, is that if there's some way to look at what we're having to pay for these state leases and make them reasonable, is kind of what we're looking for. Again, it's for our survival.
Thank you, Jim. Neil still has his hand up. I don't know if he's figured that out. Let me just see if we can. Neil, anything to add? If you do, unmute yourself. And then I'm going to ask the task force, the Bitterroot Sporting Club put their hand up again. Is it okay for me to allow them to comment again? Or does anybody have concern over it? We have plenty of time.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right, Bitterroot Sporting Club again. Go ahead and unmute.
Thank you for listening to us. I just wanted to piggyback a little bit on what Jim said. Our club has been active since 1947, and we're on an airport leased land, and we're losing that lease next year. So we've been looking for land and trying to find options, but our club is in the same boat where we're in survival mode. We have about a year left to find a solution. And if we're not able to find a place to go, we're going to be shut down. So I just wanted to piggyback on what Jim said. Those kinds of concerns I think are pretty prevalent.
Thank you. That is it for public feedback. Senator Curdy, you have your hand up. Is it still up, or is this a new question?
Yeah, this is a new question comment for Jim.
Sure.
Hey,
Go ahead.
hey, Jim, this is Willis Curdy. I'm on the Environmental Quality Council, and we do have oversight on Department of Natural Resources and Conservation, who obviously administer the state land where the North Valley Sportsman's Club is located. So we're going to have a meeting later this month. It's about a day and a half meeting. I don't remember the exact dates, but I would encourage you to send a letter or maybe send a letter to Jason Moore. That's GASONMOHR. He is our legislative researcher. And I would like you to send a letter to him to be presented to the Environmental Quality Council. And I think it would serve as a point, maybe some discussion on state land leases.
Yes, sir. We will do that. Thank you.
I would appreciate it. Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead, Seth.
Yeah, I was just gonna kind of touch on what Willis and Jim were both talking about. And I believe the land that is being considered for a range over by Manhattan on the south side of the highway there is also DNRC land. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So I believe that the land rates are set by the land board. Senator Curdy, you probably would know better, but since these are state lands used for state purposes by members of the state, it seems like there may be a way of doing a carve out or setting a rate for shooting range rentals or lease agreements at a fixed low, a rate to make this a little bit easier. It seems kind of crazy that there's no sense taking dollars and going and spending them to buy land if we have state land that we could be using for what we're considering to be a beneficial use. So that may be a conversation for the next legislative session that kind of comes up around the DNRC lease rates. If there's a carve out or a specific rate set for shooting ranges with some parameters around it, that seems like that would be very beneficial to the people of Montana.
Well, the other issue with that too is they're either getting zero or they're getting what the market will bear for them to be leasing these lands. So maybe that is very much, if they've got a fiduciary responsibility, taking a look at that as well.
I have several hands up now. So Rich, you're next.
Hi, everybody. I certainly think that it's probably worth discussing. It's not like you're talking big acres, but coming from that world of paying state land leases for the past 25 years of my life, I certainly know how that is and why the state does it. It's their fiduciary responsibility to get the best and most best use out of those lands. But it has been as certainly for grazing leases, they've jumped up. In the past year, I think in 2024, they were around $16, almost $17, and this year they're $26. So that we are seeing these increases, but maybe something could be discussed more about that. But I think it's like you said, there's just probably people that would have comments about that as we go into that. We're not talking large acreages, but and certainly want to see these places be able to continue on. But I think you would have comments certainly about what rate state, leases are going and why they're going in that direction.
Thank you. Senator Fuller.
Thank you. Thank you. Just a procedural question. Is it appropriate for this task force to have a committee bill? Does someone know?
There's nothing in opposition to that, this committee can come up with a bill. They could recommend a bill. They could recommend it to a different sponsor. That's one of your recommendations. You have the ability to do that.
Well, that being the case, I think one of the things we could suggest is discuss at a future meeting the possibility of a committee bill that would limit shooting range state land leases to a certain representation of the inflation rate. Because, like we heard from North Valley, the shooting range and Whitefish Rifle and Pistol Club, their leases is tripling, 300%, and that is certainly greater than the inflation rate. But it's something for this committee to consider at a future date, because if we want to improve and enhance the shooting opportunities, those shooting leases on state lands could be prohibitive if we end up losing shooting ranges. That's all I had on that.
Thank you. Go ahead, Senator Curdy.
Thanks again, Deb. Hey, Jim, hopefully you're still on. Why don't you also send a letter to me? I'm on the legislative website. It's willis.curdy, C-U-R-D-Y, at legmt.gov. And I want to have it in hand when we have and Mr. Moore and I will discuss it, and I'll talk it over with the chair of the committee. Be a part of the agenda.
Yes, sir.
And I will add, if you missed.
Yeah, Willis, this might be something that it might not be specific necessarily for this committee. It might be. I'm not quite sure yet. But there's other issues too, like with Virginia City and all of that. So as we go forward with this, and I'm not saying we shouldn't, we just might want to see if those things wrap together with the Historical Society and raising the lease there too. I'm just kind of thinking of a path of least resistance here.
Representative Seekins Crow, the Heritage Commission is actually attached to the Montana Department of Commerce, and I'm happy to have a offline conversation with you on Virginia City if you would ever like. Just give me a call.
Oh, I would love to. All right, I will call you because I don't know anything about it. I just hear what I hear through the press.
I will send you an email with our FAQs as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I also will add, Jim, if you missed any of those emails, you could just find my email on that task force page, and I can get you the contact information that you need. Okay. The next thing on the agenda is to talk about out-of-state field trip. And I know that you guys have tasked Seth and Andy with kind of exploring this and deciding on some options. So I'm going to just turn it over to the two of you.
Sounds good. Andy and I were talking about this earlier. We kind of went around a few times. There's the two facilities generally that I was looking at, and it's largely due to the proximity. There's the Cameo shooting facility, which is in Grand Junction, Colorado, and then the Pete Lean facility in South Dakota, which is kind of over towards Deadwood kind of area, Rapid City. Those were the two that I was kind of looking at. They're both larger facilities. The Pete Lean is kind of more, it's about a 400-acre facility. It's more of a just shooting bays, lots of shooting bays, more of a kind of a training. They have a 20,000 square foot education center, so it's quite a bit under the roof. And it's more designed for like public shooters, law enforcement training, kind of a training intensive environment. The Cameo shooting facility is about 2,000 acres. It's kind of in some rim rocks, kind of like the Billings area. So it's a lot bigger. It's more of a sprawling, long-range shooting, walking archery trails. They do have some bays and shooting facilities, but it's more aimed at competitions and pavilions and outside use and less sort of indoor use. As I was kind of thinking about the committee and, wise use of funds, how beneficial it would be, I think Andy and I kind of arrived at, I don't know that it would be worth the time and effort to travel to one of these facilities unless certain members wanted to see a certain aspect of what was going on, how it was being run, etc. It's probably from Helena, they're both 8 to 11 hour drive one way. So if we were going to drive, it's essentially a 2-day trip with an overnight. If we were going to fly, it would either be more expensive, or I don't think there's any state planes floating around that we can jump on at the moment. So I think what might be more beneficial is if we did want to do this, I think it would probably be pushed down the road until after we get some of the survey information back to try and see what people are asking for, and then we could make it more specific to, we think we want to build a large facility and we think it should look like this, and we would go visit somewhere similar so that the committee could wrap their head around how they're doing it, what it might look like, to give us a better ability to recommend something to the legislature. The other thing that I think would be beneficial much closer to home is attending or making available to attend some shooting competitions. So I know there are outdoor rifle competitions around the state. I know of a few that are very well run that have nationwide attendance. I think that might be a better use for our limited funds to give people sort of an introduction to maybe 2 or 3 different shooting disciplines, what a competition looks like, because those are going to be the people that are traveling. You could talk to some of the out-of-state people about what they're looking for, why they came to Montana. If, ask them what they would be wanting, we can talk to match directors that are hosting these matches of, if we were going to do a facility, what would you want to see? I don't know, that as we were talking, that seems like that might be a better use of time and funds. So I'm kind of putting it out to the committee of what some of you might want to see or experience. If if people do want to go to one of these large facilities, I think it might be beneficial, but I think we would want to push it later than kind of the May date and try and get survey results back, or at least a good sampling of survey results. So that's what I've got for now, and I'll put it out to the floor for comment.
Yeah, open for discussion. Go ahead, Senator Fuller.
Okay, thank you. And I concur with Seth in that we push down the road the possibility of attending a shoot. I would just offer to you that one of the larger shooting events in Montana is the Quigley Shoot, which is the 3rd weekend of June in Forsyth, Montana. And it's a privately owned club on private land, but it is extremely well run. There are more than 600 shooters every year, and there are more than 3,000 people camped on the ranch that it takes place at. So it might be something that would be worthwhile. If not, there are plenty of YouTube examples of how that particular shoot is run. Okay, but I concur with Seth on that we don't need to go to South Dakota or Colorado at this point.
Well, and thank you so much, Senator. I think one of my favorite core memories of the legislature is watching you and Representative Kelly in the shoot-off at the end of last session. That was just so much fun. You guys are both such great sportsmen, and it was, I think one of you got a 24 and one of you got a 23. It was amazing. The other thing I was thinking of is that if we did have a meeting here in Billings, we could also go up to the Rod and Gun Club and just have fun ourselves and shoot, see what the Rod and Gun Club looks like here in Billings. Or if we were, I mean, even there in Helena next time, if we wanted to set up something for us to go to as well. Those are also ideas. Maybe Seth, if you could kind of pinpoint a couple of those locations or dates for us, just kind of make a decision. That would be a lot of fun. I did go down to the governor's shoot down in Casper, Wyoming, and had a lot of fun down there. They actually let us, as the competition was going on, go into one of the empty bays, and with Nephi behind us, kind of directing us. And then he also let us shoot the long range buffalo out in the field, which was a lot of fun as well. So I think that there's a lot of things that we could do locally within our state, so it gives us a bigger picture of what is out there, and also regionally. So I think that's a great idea. Is that possible? I mean, Seth, Andy, John, you guys have been participating in this.
Yeah. So I think it would be good to do at least one event where it's official. We try and get certain members or as many members as we can of the committee there, just as a group. I think that would be good. And then also I was going to put together a list of competitive events or facilities, even land that people are using that I think would be beneficial. And then coordinate with the match directors or whomever to, make it a welcoming and informative event for anyone that would just want to attend, and I could coordinate that. So I'll get a list out to the committee of some dates and events, and then we can determine if we want to make one of them official, even if it's for a half day or something, or if people just want to take advantage of it.
Is there anybody who objects to kind of us going forward with this plan? Seth did talk to me about it earlier. Are there any objections for us going forward in this way?
Carrie, I don't have an objection. I just want to flesh out a little bit of what Seth shared. As he and I visited about this, I think that attending a sanctioned match somewhere, and I appreciate the senator's suggestion of the Quigley, and there's some others, that would show our group the reasoning behind part of why a larger facility that attracted out of state and other commercial type tourism participants, it would just show the magnitude of it and demonstrate the need for it, and maybe be a bit of an inspiration as well. Just wanted to share that.
I absolutely agree. Thank you. Any other thoughts before we task these folks with going forward with this?
Representative Secret Crow, I'll just add that, and I know Seth mentioned this, we can definitely, we were talking about holding a meeting, an official meeting at one of these sites in the state as well. So if there is a quorum there and you want to have that as a location of a meeting, we would be able to hopefully identify an area of FWP offices, generally a good place to have a meeting and be able to stream these so the public at large can see these and participate as well. So I'll just add that in. If you guys do identify a site and you want to have a meeting on site, I can handle the logistics for that.
Great. So within the, say, by the 1st of April, Seth, do you think you could come up with a list and a plan going forward, how we're going to do this?
Yes, that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, I really appreciate it. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much.
And Seth, I'll add that the dates that are on that timeline I sent out, those pretty much were the dates that the majority of everybody could come. So I just want you to be aware of those dates. I do have a running list of dates that don't work. So if you want to talk to me about any of those dates, I have a list of dates that do and don't work too.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll compile some of that look good and I'll send them to you first. And then if you want to sort of black a few out if they look pretty bad. Generally, they're going to be weekends. A lot of the bigger matches are 2-day matches. So it's a registration, check-in Friday night, 5 o'clock, and then it's shoot all day Saturday, shoot half day Sunday, awards close out Sunday, everyone goes home. So Saturday would be the better day to meet or visit, but Sunday would also work, but it would be over a weekend, which.
But we could also have our meeting on Friday, and then for those who could stay for the match on Saturday too, that might work.
Yeah, I think that could also be beneficial. Sounds good. Thanks, Deb.
Okay, well, that was all we had on the agenda. I just wanted to, we have Senator Froehler. Go ahead and you have your hand up. You're on mute, Senator Froehler.
My question was the April 10th meeting. I believe it's April 10th. It says in person. Where is that location at?
Thank you. That was a great segue. That's what I was going to bring up next. The April 10th meeting, we did identify it as in person. It does not have to be. That is up to the group, up to all of you. I just thought it was nice getting together once in a while, but at this next meeting, since we didn't have the out-of-state presentations, at this one, we will have at least South Dakota and Colorado presenting at this next meeting, maybe Wyoming as well. That will be over Zoom because they are not traveling to come to us. They're going to just present it over Zoom. So I wanted to throw it out to the group. It's up to you if you want this next meeting to be in person or over Zoom, and I'll let you guys discuss that. It is a Friday.
I was thinking we could do this one once again in Helena until we determine kind of what else we're going to do, because Helena seems to be very centrally located for us, for those of us from the Flathead, and then me from Billings. And of course, if you can't come, you can come in over Zoom. But that's what I was thinking, and then maybe see if we can, in the afternoon for an hour or so, go shooting.
I think that would be
Froehler looks excited about that.
I think that would probably work. In looking at schedules for matches, I don't think there's any matches that would work for that weekend around the state. So that option would be out, at least from the long distance rifle type shooting. But I'll look into it a little bit more.
Okay. And if there's something else that pops up, Seth, don't hesitate to call me up and we can be a little bit flexible. Right now, that's what it's looking like. And that was my idea behind that one as well.
And would, judging by, I think what we'll just have preliminary results from the survey. The survey will likely still be open. We'll have just maybe some basic results, but is a 10 to 3 meeting okay? So those can travel on each side and we'll provide lunch. Does that work?
Sounds good to me.
And can we have it at Fish, Wildlife, and Parks again?
Yeah, I'll see if Montana Wild's available. If not, we'll find another place, but I'll check on see if that's available.
Yeah, that's such a neat place. It's such a great place.
It is a great place to explore.
So any objections to that from anybody?
I was just going to jump in and say, I realized we were looking for something for the out-of-state field trip dates, but I believe that the Semper Fi Steel Gun Challenge is May 30th and June 1st in Helena at the Last Chance. I always forget where it's held. Last Chance shooting.
What is that, Mandy? What was it you were saying? It's the what?
It's the Semper Fi Steel Challenge hosted by the Last Chance handgunners outside of Boulder.
Okay.
And that, I believe it's on May 30th this year. And I can confirm that and let Deb know.
Or let Seth know too, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure I just found that is when it is. I'll put it in the chat for Seth.
Okay.
Perfect.
Great, thank you. Okay, well, I think other than really working on the survey, getting that out to folks and having everybody respond to the additional language. Also, Seth, I guess I'm putting on you deciding what maybe some questions would work for non-shooters if you guys want to go that route. Like I said, we could also put a blurb that anybody could, email me and I could send it out to the group as well. It's however you guys want to handle it. I'm happy to help and facilitate that movement of information. But yeah, if we could get that in the next week, I suppose, and then Renee and her staff will be able to have another week to populate that survey, then we could get that press release out and get it going.
Sounds good.
Deb, thank you so much for all that you do. I'm sorry that you're not feeling well today, but you still ran an incredible meeting and you do such a good job at keeping us on track and preparing us so that we can be successful as well. And Seth, thank you so much for all the work you've been doing. It really is very impactful and very important.
Happy to do it.
And thank you all. And if there's anything you need, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'll do my best to get you the information you need. Otherwise, I think we're okay. And sorry about my dogs. I'm working from home. And I'll get Natalie the notes that Natalie's taking. She does such a great job there, and get them turned around to you guys for review and making sure everything's accurate as soon as possible.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank you. Good day.